All right, let's get into it. Welcome to Wright is my name, and this is episode 1. Everybody wants to shine, but nobody wants to dig in the trenches. They want the platform, but they forget they have to dig in the trenches. They want the crown, but they forget the crown comes after digging in the trenches. If you want to build something that lasts, it won't happen overnight. And it damn sure won't happen by accident. You've got to build it brick by brick. If you're ready to build something better, then you have to start off with your mindset. And then you have to put in the work. It isn't going to just fall out the sky. You can't depend on the lottery either. When I was a kid, I used to think things were handed over until I got older. And I realized life isn't peaches and cream. Then I got into junior college. I had the ambition, I had the image, the hunger, and I've been grinding like I already made it. But deep down, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was chasing validation, not vision. And that kind of grind catches up to you and you will collapse. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't get a scholarship playing football out of high school. I didn't have a backup plan. I got stuck for years trying to survive and provide what I can. Until I got tired of the cycle, tired of the noise, tired of living by default and not by design. And I stopped trying to impress and started trying to build. Then I realized trying was only an excuse because if you're really trying, you would actually be doing. You wouldn't say, I'm trying, I'm trying. You would be doing it like riding a bike. So, here's what building brick by brick has really taught me. For one, it's been very humbling. But no one's coming to save you. You want a better life, better mindset, better relationship? That's on you. Not your past, not your parents, not the system. On you. Discipline is love. It isn't punishment. It isn't punishment. And it's proof that you can take care of yourself when nobody's clapping, even if you don't feel like it. You owe that to yourself. And don't let the world label you. They'll put you as weak, soft, and that's not you, and that ends now. So, my question to you is this: are you building, or are you just busy? Are you laying bricks that matter, or stacking distraction? Because the world will try to rush you and shape you, distract you, and even break you. But building on solid foundation, brick by brick, you will get something real. So, here's your reminder: no one builds greatness by accident. You do it with intention. You do it with patience. You do it with pressure and trust. There will be setbacks. But you do it with that one decision, one boundary, one moment of courage at a time. Don't wait for the perfect setup. Don't wait for the applause. Don't wait for permission. Just build. Your name deserves that. Your story deserves that. You deserve that. So, let's start with number 1. Let's talk about building when nobody's clapping. When you don't have followers, when your inbox is dry, when nobody's reposting you or hyping you up. That's when it starts. Because anybody can talk about growth when they're trending. But who are you when it's just you and your thoughts? Who are you when there's no applause, when there's no foundation getting tested? You gotta really think about that. You gotta test yourself. You gotta really root yourself. It means getting clear on your mission before anybody believes in it. You don't become a leader by going viral. You become a leader by going inward, by taking full ownership of your discipline, your decisions, your mindset when nobody's watching. It's called accountability. Let me tell you something real. Growth isn't glamorous. Nobody's lining up to watch you grind in silence. Nobody's shouting your name when you're putting in hours out without the audience. And when you stumble, it's not a highlight reel, it's often a moment you face alone. Building yourself brick by brick means showing up day after day, even when the world doesn't notice. Even when your family, your friends, or your followers don't get it. That's where character is forged because the real question isn't, how do I get famous or how do I go viral? The question is, who am I when the crowd disappears? It's easy to lead with applause. It's easy to feel strong when everyone's watching. But what about when the room is empty? What about when it's just you staring down your own excuses? That's when you decide, do I let my BS win? Or do I let my excuses win? Or do I build on foundation? Do I go brick by brick with purpose, discipline, and grit? Real leaders don't need applauses. They're made in the trenches with discipline by refusing to give power away even when nobody's watching. This means waking up and owning your own schedule, not your feelings, training your mind to cut the noise of social media distractions, keeping your word to yourself even when it's uncomfortable, learning from failure and not fearing from it, being your own biggest supporter, and because that, you will only be the one at times being your own supporter. Let me ask you, when you fall, do you get back up? When the world ignores you, do you keep moving? When nobody's cheering you, do you still lead yourself with conviction? If the answer is yes, congratulations. You're building something real. You're building no algorithm can give you. You're building brick by brick, step by step, day by day. This is how legacies are started because the world doesn't. The world needs more leaders who don't need an audience to show up, who don't need likes to know their worth, who build silently, then let their works speak for them. If you commit to this, you're already ahead of 90% of people talking about change but do nothing. So remember, it's not about who's watching, it's about who you're becoming. So let's transition let's transition into some news that's been buzzing all week. P. Diddy has been convicted on two man act counts, and has been acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering. Sentencing has been scheduled for October 3rd, and bail has been denied yet again. We're starting big with wealth, big in fame, big in power, but today it ends in conviction. P. Diddy still may walk free on serious charges like sex trafficking and racketeering, but the two count man act counts he was found guilty on, he's looking at 10 years. The trials didn't just shake everybody. It didn't just take up 6 or 7 weeks of people's time or all this time from the prosecution to gather all this information. It took up fame and fortune, and it literally causes a fissure and a razor thin line between leadership and liability. The jury may feel that it wasn't enough to convict on the other things. But like I said, sentencing has been set for October 3rd. He's looking at a maximum of 20 years, but a lot of experts are saying he might get out within 18 to 27 months, or he might get time served. Who knows? Despite the verdict, supporters outside the courthouse were chanting and celebrating, waving oil bottles, symbols of freak-off parties, and groups of ultraviolets were out there as well, talking about all types of conspiracies. He also faces dozens of lawsuits spanning decades and dozens more of assault charges and coercions and trust. His fortune is going to bleed. But let me speak plain. Power doesn't absolve fame, and it doesn't forgive. P. Diddy had influence in his palm and trust at his feet, and people will ask, what did he do with it? We think legends last forever, but without integrity, legends will always crumble. Leadership isn't inherited, it's earned. It doesn't come with asterisks. It doesn't come with a title. You have to do that based on morals. Next, we're going to go on to another segment that's hitting California, especially smaller towns, on this rural hospital crisis. The Senate Finance Committee is currently negotiating a massive budget reconciliation bill. If it passes, that means $1 trillion of Medicaid and Medicare will be taken away, hitting major rural hospitals and small cities. Here's the situation. The UNC Chapel Hill study shows 338 rural hospitals are at risk of falling and are in the red. Rural hospitals rely heavily on Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements, and that's how they survive. Senate Republicans are debating adding $100 billion, and that will have a severe impact. Rural hospitals often are the lifeline of small communities that provide OB, mental health, and they're only closest sources of emergency within 50 miles. Several senators like Hawley, Capetillo, Cassidy are pushing to ensure these cuts don't force closures, but the bill cites completing demands. That's a real part. That's a real problem. Leadership means serving communities, not sacrificing them. This isn't just about budget talk. It's about whether we believe every American deserves a shot at health. And they do. Leadership isn't making cuts easier. It's protecting the vulnerable, and it's about asking, what are our priorities? Who gets left behind? Who lives where we're willing to risk for the sake of the bottom line? If we pass a bill that cripples rural hospitals, we're not being prudent, we're being reckless. But if we protect them, fund them, and fight for them, we show the backbone of leadership is caring, especially when decisions don't make headlines. So when the bill hits Congress, ask yourself, which side are you on? Profit margins or people's lives? Legacies or line items? Now we're going to go on to another news headline. $14.6 billion in health fraud rings, and over 320 people have been charged. Here's the truth they don't broadcast far enough. A global network of criminals just siphoned off nearly $15 billion from U.S. healthcare, all using your name, your history, and your trust. Nearly 1 million Americans have personal data stolen, fueling a phony billing, and the DOJ is charging 324 people for this. Literally, this includes 93 licensed professionals like doctors, nurses, and pharmacists, and international ring members. Total fraudulent billing of $14.6 billion with a B. Real money lost is $2.9 billion drained from taxpayer dollars on reimbursement efforts, and only $245 million have been captured. Like, what the heck? $10.6 billion in false Medicare claims for durable medical equipment, mainly catheter scams using patients and bogus firms. They bought shell companies, recruited straw owners, they set up fraudulent billing systems. They even had opioid pill mills. Over 15 million pills of oxycodone, hydrocodone, and other various drugs were provided to these people. Fake telehealth care coming out to $1.17 billion. And a wound and hospice care scam in Arizona, talking about claiming wound grafts and fraudulently billed over $900 million. Broken provider vetting. The system is screwed. We need to do better. There's over 30 plus shell companies. Like, we can't live like this, you guys. This is unacceptable. So much has been stolen from us. Like, this is laundering on a global level. Fraud proceeds have been funneled through crypto foreign banks and often overseas, making recovery difficult. Mass arrests and indictments have happened for 324 defendants, now face charges under healthcare fraud laws, wire fraud, money laundering, controlled substance violations, and AI was how it was detected. Again, only 245 million has been seized, and that includes houses, luxury goods, and cars, and it's not enough though. So how does this affect us? Your premiums will rise. Every dollar in fraud forces cutbacks in funding or increases in cost. Patients, your loved ones, you, all your family history has been tied to this. Vulnerable populations like telehealth, hospice, and rural care, often elderly or low income, are hit the hardest. This is fraud on a nationwide level. This is more than just numbers. It's your neighbor's insurance, it's grandma's hearing aid or insulin, it's tax funded care that disappears into shell servers and crypto wallets. When the system fails, we all pay in cash and trust. It's easy to talk about fraud, it's harder to recognize it and rewrite it in your healthcare script. AI should have been implemented ever since its existence. And that's just my personal opinion. Now on to Trump's one big beautiful bill. They're really calling it that. But behind the branding and applause, what does it really mean for you? I don't care about left or right. It's about clarity. It's about pulling the curtains back so you can make decisions based on facts, not BS. Because too many people are cheering for teams and not policies. And if we don't understand what this bill has, we won't understand what it's about to do to us, how it's going to hit our homes, our jobs, our futures, and our wallet. So Trump's one big beautiful bill is being framed as his signature policy package if reelected and touches nearly every aspect of American life. It's ambitious, it's sweeping, and depending on who you are, it could help you or seriously hurt you. I'm going to focus on 5 major things: tax cuts, entitlement reforms and work requirements, energy dominance, massive immigration overhaul, and national defense and border security. First up, the money. Trump wants to renew and expand parts of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Acts which were set back to expire this year in 2025. The key proposals were to extend lower individual tax rates for all brackets, expand the standard deduction, reduce corporate tax by, I want to say like 10%, and possibly bring it down to 15 when right now it's at 21. The pros are the middle class families may see lower income tax bills, businesses have more capital to invest in higher, lower inheritance tax protects generational wealth. The cons is this: the richest 1% get the biggest dollar saving, could add 3 to 5 trillion in national deficit, reduce federal revenue, potential cuts to public programs, and the impacts by classes: rich, huge benefits, more take home, less income tax; middle class, modest relief but offset; and the poor, minimal impact unless is paired with the EITC. What are the problems? The tax cuts feel good until it's coming after your grandmother's hearing aids and she has to pay more in medical costs. Now, this one's got people's whispering. The Trump's team is proposing new work requirements for social safety net programs like SNAP and Social Security. The key proposal would require able-bodied adults without dependents to work 20 plus hours a week to qualify, tighten eligibility windows, push states to enforce stricter revenue of recipients. The pros are they're encouraging labor forces to participate, could reduce fraud and dependency, and may reduce strain on state budget. The cons are it could push vulnerable Americans off life-saving benefits. Many people on a Medicare or food stamp already work, but it's still unstable or a seasonal job. The bureaucracy increases. States must track and verify all recipients. The end class, the impact by class is rich, they're unaffected by this. The middle class, neutral to slightly positive. Then on rhetoric when it appeals to fairness, but the poor have a major negative impact. They're going to possibly lose health care and food access. Work is noble, but punishing poverty isn't the same as promoting discipline. If you want people to work, you got to make it work with them. You can't weaponize their safety net. And this drill, baby, drill. Again, if you thought climate policy was on pause, this bill slams it into reverse. Trump wants to supercharge fossil fuel production and roll back environmental regulations he calls job killers. The key proposals are open more federal lands and offshore sites to drilling, expand oil and gas pipelining across state lines, cut funding to EPA, and withdraw from federal climate pacts and programs. The pros are energy prices could fall in the short term, more jobs in fossil fuel sectors like oil, coal, and natural gas. U.S. becomes less dependent on foreign energy. But the cons are major climate impacts like emissions could spike crazy. Clean energy, like clean energy jobs and industries may be undercut. Public health at risk from pollution, especially in low income areas or native reserves. The impacts by classes are the rich, energy investors, they're going to win big. The middle class, lower gas and electric bills, but long term risk. And the poor, often living near these zones, are going to be exposed to toxins. It isn't just policy, it's a direction, and once we choose it, we can't rewind the clock on the climate. Immigration's overhaul, tougher border, and leaner systems. This part of the bill is like red meat for lions. Trump's immigration overhaul focuses on strict enforcement, faster deportation, and limiting legal pathways. The key proposals are reintroduce Remain in Mexico policy, speed up deportation timelines, and end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants, and cut legal immigration caps by up to 50%. The pros are appeals to those concerned about border securities, reduced immigration court backlogs, and could ease strain on social services in overwhelmed cities. But the cons are humanitarian concerns, separating families and risk of abuse, workforce workforce gaps in agricultural and construction, healthcare, economic hit. Immigrants contribute 2 trillion annually to the GDP. The rich will lose access to cheaper labors, and some benefit from reduced pressure on service. Middle class is mixed, less competition in some jobs, but more labor shortages and costs may rise. And the poor is gonna get hit the hardest, honestly. America was built on immigration. And for them to do this is highly sickening. We need these people. And finally, the part where spending explodes. Trump's plan calls for 1.2 trillion in new military and border security funding over the next decade. The key proposals are expands on the US military, more troops and ships and cyber units, double down on space force and missile defense, the complete the southern border wall and advanced technology, and redirect foreign aid dollars toward domestic enforcement. The pros are boost military jobs and manufacturing, signal global strength, and it will deter illegal crossings if the tech actually works. The cons are massive costs without clear ROI, military contractors win big and not always troops or veterans. Wall effectiveness remains debated, and the tunnels and drones have already bypassed us. The impact is the rich defense industry investors gain. The middle class, some jobs may be a factor and do good, some jobs are going to lose. And the poor will have less access to federal help. The cost of the big, beautiful bill, let me just say this plain and simple. It is a big, beautiful bill for one class, but can and will be brutal for another. Tax cuts feel good until the street lights go out and your kid's school cuts the sports programs. Border security sounds bold until grandma can't find a home's healthcare nurse to help her because they choked off the worker pipeline. Drilling gas is probably going to be good, but if you live close to those refineries, you're going to suffer. The stuff is going to leave people with nothing. And if you're here to hold Trump up to the light, we need to know the truth. Because this bill passes, and it did pass. What are we building? Who is it building for? What does this really mean for you and I? This bill is more than politics. It's a blueprint for a different America, one with a lighter tax load but a heavier burden on public programs. More border walls but fewer immigration lanes. Bigger bombs but smaller budgets for basic needs. Cheaper gas but a hotter planet and unhealthier ecosystem. Stricter work rules but little wage growth. And for everyday people, whether you're climbing or you're in the middle class, what part of this bill is about you? What part forgets about you? What part dares you to pay attention before it's too late? All right, you guys. I hope you know we're not wrapping things up on this episode without the tough questions. What do we prioritize? What are we willing to protect? What risks are we prepared to bear on for legacy? The real raw breakdown, the real problem isn't the news, it's the people watching it. Let me break this down. The real problem isn't the stories we just covered, it's the response or the lack of one. Mainly from the US citizen. The people watching it all happen. You guys are voting for it. And if you don't like it, you have to do something about it and vote against it. Let's recap what we talked about. We covered a whole lot. We opened with, a little motivational speech and truth on if you want to build more and how you gotta do better. When nobody's clapping, how you still gotta move forward. When the foundation gets laid, you've gotta keep building. We talked about Diddy, the verdict, empire, and what power without accountability looks and costs. We covered how Congress might gut healthcare in small towns not because they have to, but because they're willing to let rural Americans bleed for a budget win. We exposed a $14.6 billion healthcare fraud system. And finally, we unpacked Trump's one big, beautiful bill. And the real question is who wins, who loses, and what is the cost to it all? Again, if this is leadership, we definitely need to look at things differently. This is why I started this podcast. Not because I need a mic, not because I think I'm famous, but because I got tired of silence. Everybody posting quotes and claps for viral videos, but where are the people willing to build something with their name on it? Where are the leaders? Not influencers, not commentators, but the leaders. The ones who show up even when the camera is off. The ones who take responsibility not just for themselves, but for the generation coming up behind them. Let me tell you something real. This isn't about gas prices, policies, or celebrities. This is about the fact that people have gotten comfortable watching their own country collapse and calling it content. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to wake something up in you. We have to move forward from this crazy far left and far right stuff. This is Wright is my name, and if you made it this far, then you're not just listening. You're ready to build. This isn't about being perfect. It isn't about being present. It's about choosing purpose over noise, legacies over likes, foundation over flaws. And if you felt that today, then don't just hit like, share, follow, or subscribe. Hit the mental reset button as well. Start building. Your name deserves that. Your story deserves that. And you definitely deserve that. Not just that, we definitely need to hold our politicians accountable. Get into it. Vote. Go to these meetings. Go wherever you need to go to be able to see what's going on. To know what they're trying to do. And ask the questions that nobody wants to ask. Literally. Reading is fundamental. Like literally. If you read, you're going to gain the knowledge. Yes, they make these huge bills and they have so many pages. Download it, turn it into a PDF. We have AI now. We have ChatGPT and all these other different sources. Download it, put it on there, and ask Chat, how does this affect you in your situation? What class that you're in, and see how this benefits you. We can't just keep taking politicians' words for it. We need to see what it is that they're actually writing out and how they're actually going to help us out. Remember, they work for us. We don't work for them. We voted them in, and we can definitely vote them out. This is Wright is my name, and I'll see you guys in episodes 2. Let's get to work and let's really make things happen. Have a good night, you guys.